Hello, beautiful Facebook family, seekers, and friends. Go ahead and take a deep breath with me as we get nice and set up for our talk about wealth and the wealth frequencies of the universe via the Yogic Philosophy. So for the past 2 weeks, I've been doing videos on basic like Yoga Philosophy 101, which starts with the yamas and the niyamas, the 10 commandments of yoga. Okay, but they're not commandments, they're attributes of a person that's basically rocking life, basically at peace with everything. Everything that they desire comes to them, everything that they need, they have when they need it. They're not living in stress or fear, they're living in full trust that everything they have will be there when they need it. Okay? So this is the step-by-step kind of instructions on how to get to a place where you're in full trust with the universe, where you're enjoying life, where you're watching life go by like a movie. And you just, eating popcorn and riding the ups and downs. Knowing that in order to have success, in order to have pleasure, we need to go through pain. And so we don't take the pain so seriously. We don't get so wrapped up in the negative emotion, but rather we can live from a place of knowing that in order to have one thing, we need to have another thing. Knowing that peace and unity comes from polarity. Okay? So we connect to the frequencies of wealth in the universe through Asteya, which means non-stealing. So the first question that I like to ask here is, what is wealth? And I think this is an important question for us all to ask ourselves. What is wealth? What does it mean to be prosperous? What does it mean to be wealthy, to be rich? And I love the word rich because it's like, it's not only means that you have a lot of money, but it also means that it means a certain sense of fullness. You can be rich in terms of money, but not feel full. So for me, wealth is a feeling of fullness. It's a feeling of satisfaction and fulfillment. And I love it, the Hebrew word for fulfillment, which I don't remember what the actual word is, but the translation of it is letting God flow through you. When we are living in fulfillment, when we're living in our life satisfaction, when we're fulfilling our life's purpose, we're living with God flowing through us. Whew. God is all around us. God is everywhere. If we can agree on the term God, meaning the forces that brought this into existence and the forces that help this continue to stay in existence, then we know that God is all around us, that the universe is all around us. So we connect to the greater universe through allowing it to move through us. And when we connect to the greater universe and we allow it to move through us, we can live a relaxed and joyful life. We can trust that everything we need will be there when we need it. So we can let go and let it move through. So this is what the yoga philosophies really describe as wealth. It's living a rich life. It's feeling a deep sense of richness in your day-to-day. You can have a lot of money, but not feel a richness, not feel a satisfaction. So the real richness is surrendering to the forces that move through you, is surrendering to your impulses, surrendering to your intuition, surrendering into the flow of life, and seeing that as we surrender into the flow of life, just like nature, every empty space gets filled up. In nature, if there's ever a clear field, if there's ever a clear space, it will get filled up. So yoga teaches us to clear our own vessel, to practice meditation, to practice asana, the movement practices, to clear out our vessel so that we're not all gunked up, right? And that we can let the universe move through us. And this is our fulfillment. This is our satisfaction. this is our living a true life of wealth and richness. And it's interesting because in our common society, we kind of think about wealth as hoarding, right? Like if you have a lot of money and you keep a lot of money, then you're wealthy, and you want to collect more and keep more money, and then you're wealthy. And yoga philosophy teaches exactly the opposite. It says, don't be greedy. Don't hoard anything. Don't keep what you have. Share it. Let it go. Be generous. That is what it teaches. And when we can let it flow, it's like the same. We let money flow through us. Money is an energy, and it wants to flow. So it wants to move through us. And it knows that if it comes to us and we hoard it and keep it, then it's going to get stuck. And so it doesn't want to be with us. Or it's going to get stuck and it's going to start making us feel bad. How many times did we collect a lot of money and then be so afraid that we're going to lose it that we can't actually enjoy the money that we have? Because the way that we enjoy money is by spending it, right? Because we don't actually want money in order to hold on to that money. We want money because of the way that it's going to make us feel, because of the opportunities that money present to us when we have it. So by tapping into what you want to bring with that money, tapping into how you want to feel when you receive that money and you use that money, is how we attract the money and the things that we receive from it to us. Everyone wants, $1 million. Everyone wants $100 million. Okay? But the thing is ask yourself, what do you want to do with it? And that's where the true satisfaction comes from. And if we can understand something about being human is collective. It's tribal. We need each other to survive. We get so much energy and pleasure from sharing time, sharing ideas, sharing space with other humans. So we realize that if we hoard things to ourselves, we start to isolate ourselves. And we're no longer connected to our pleasure, to our passions, to our joy of sharing things with others. So it's not about the money, but it's rather, what do you want to do with the money? And then the next question is, how are you going to feel when you do those things? How is that money going to make you feel? So for example, if I had $1 million, I would start to feel more secure. I'd feel more safe. And I'd feel like I have a lot of opportunities. I'd feel free. I feel like I'm free to travel. I feel like I could maybe even buy some land. I could start building a community. And for me, my quest is why wait until I have that $1 million until I start to feel that way? Why wait? Why not start to do things that make me feel that way now? So if I want to feel safe and secure, what can I do to help me feel safe and secure? And a lot of times that's just connecting to my root chakra and remembering that Mother Earth is taking care of me all the time. And then it's oh yeah, I am safe and secure, and I have been safe and secure my whole life. If I want to feel free, it's what are the things in my day-to-day that I already do that make me feel free? And how can I do that more? Instead of waiting for the money to come, how can I do that more so that I can feel free today? So that I'm not thinking that I need this external thing in order to make me feel the way I want to feel. This is true wealth, is knowing that you can feel the way you want to feel today. You don't need to wait for the money to come. You don't need to wait for the things to come into your possession in order for you to feel the way that you want to feel. That is true wealth. You have the power to create worlds within you. You have the power to create anything you want. You have the power to feel any way that you have felt before. And so you can create it with the power. Okay. All right. So we're, of course, using the Yoga Sutras, which is one of my favorite yoga books of all time, which is probably everyone's favorite book of all time, right? So it says, and I love it because we've been studying the yamas. The first one was non-harming. And when one is established in non-harming, no violence can happen around her. When one is established with non-violence within, then she creates a space of peace around her automatically. Okay, the second one is truth. When one speaks truth, eventually, if everything you say is true, eventually everything you say will become true. Eventually you start creating with your words, abracadabra. Okay, this one says, to one established in non-stealing, all wealth comes. If you don't try to hoard things, if you don't try to take things, if you don't fool yourself into thinking that once you have this thing, then everything's going to be okay. If you don't fool yourself into thinking that once you have this thing, then you'll be able to feel fulfilled and satisfied and good, then all wealth comes to you. Because you know that you have everything that you need. Okay? So this book even says that when we breathe, we're stealing. That every time we take a breath, we're stealing air from the atmosphere. But it says that in order to not steal this breath, we need to use this breath in reverence. Be grateful for this breath. Use this breath in reverence and notice what it brings to us and make a vow that we're going to use that breath and what it brought to us in order to serve others, in order to share what it has brought with us. And this is non-stealing. Because we're living here, we eat food from Mother Earth. You know, we're stealing from the animals, we're stealing from the trees. We breathe from the atmosphere. We're stealing air, right? We're stealing air from other animals or whatever. But we're stealing each other's time. You know, it's not stealing if it's taken with gratitude, if it's taken with reverence. So this part for me really teaches us the lesson of slowing down, of how important it is to slow down and take things in deep reverence and say thank you for the things that we receive, like food, like water, like everything. And already when we slow down and we start to treat things with reverence, we feel more wealthy. We feel more rich. We feel more full. Our life is more satisfying and fulfilling if we slow down and appreciate. And then from there the teaching is, okay, slow down and appreciate, and then reflect on how you can use this to be of service to others. How can you share this gift that you've received to pay it forward? So this passage is teaching, like, always pay it forward. If you always pay it forward, you'll be the wealthiest person in the world. For some of us, karmically, that's going to look like having a lot of money. Some of us are not karmically meant to have a lot of money. So some of us will not live a life to be like, monetarily wealthy. And that's okay. And each one of us can feel into what is the money that, we want really. What is the money that we want in order to create what we want to create, in order to feel the way we want to feel. We steal other people's ideas all the time. Okay, so it says, if we are completely free from stealing and greed, contented with what we have, right? So saying thank you all the time for what we have. And there's so many scientific studies telling us how healthy and beneficial gratitude is for us, how our nervous systems benefit, our brains, our hormones, our heart, our blood, our digestion. So many things are benefited from gratitude. And they already knew this, thousands of years ago. They knew that the contentment and the reverence for what we receive, the gratitude for what we receive, is going to create more health and wealth. If we keep our minds serene, all wealth comes to us. This for me is like keeping our mind calm and not attaching to ideas and needs, but actually keeping our minds calm so that we are an empty vessel. And as I said before, When something is empty in nature, nature fills it up. So it's about emptying ourselves. Continue to empty, knowing that those ideas, those sparks of inspiration, that joy and excitement will come when we empty our vessel. When our minds are full and busy and we're attached to the things we want and the things we got to get in order to feel the way we want to feel because we're not okay right now, we need to be okay, then we lost it. Like, we lost it. But when we calm the fluctuations of the mind, when we find that place of meditation where things are serene, when we quiet our mind, we can trust the natural impulses. And like, for example, one night I was here in my office, chilling, hanging out, meditating. And all of a sudden I had an idea to go live. I needed to go live on my Goddess Temple Facebook group and tell people something that was coming through me. This was like 1 year ago. And right after I made this video, like 2 people watched it. And one of the people that watched it messaged me and was like, wow, you spoke to my heart. I've been going through such a hard time. And what you said really helped me. And this was 1 year ago. And now this woman is my client. It took 1 year for her to become my client. But in that day, I felt the impulse of the universe sending through me the message. And I was meditative enough and clear enough, which I'm not always, and it's an ongoing journey, to listen and to follow that impulse, even though I wasn't ready and even though I wasn't prepared and even though, I didn't really know what I was going to say. I followed that impulse, and 1 year later, I found the fruits. I found the fruits right away because getting that message from her right away was filling my heart. Okay. So this is the power of quieting the mind and listening to the natural impulses that arise and then trusting them and just going with it, even if it's scary, even if it's confusing, even if you're not sure why the fuck you're doing it, even if you seem like a weirdo. Okay? It's like, yeah, let's be weirdos. Like, okay. So if nature knows that we're not greedy, she gains confidence in us. Confidence. If nature knows that we're not greedy, she gains confidence in us. She can trust us more. So nature starts to trust us more because nature's alive. Nature has a consciousness that we don't necessarily understand. But when we start to tune into it, we can tap into the consciousness of nature, the consciousness of trees and flowers and nature beings. So the nature being starts to trust us as we become less greedy and more satisfied with who we are. And then the nature brings us more miracles. Someone who's sitting there in trust will have like an exotic bird, right, fly up to them and show them all the fancy feathers and colors. And someone who's wrapped up in their needs and desires and fears, that bird isn't going to want to come to that person to show them the abundance of nature, to show them the wealth of what is. So, and also nature wants to use us as a conduit for her messages. So when we get established in our own sense of self-wealth, in our own sense of richness and gratitude and contentment and reverence towards the world, then nature will also send us messages. Will send us codes and things that we need to do, right? Those genius ideas and the motivation and the connections. We become a conduit for messages that then could bring us wealth, right? Could bring us work opportunities. Okay. I could talk about this for so long. I have so many notes in my book, but I'm really happy that there's a couple people here with me, and thank you for tuning in. I'm just going to go for a couple more minutes. If we have the attitude, so wealth, non-stealing, non-hoarding, wealth is about cultivating the attitude. If it comes, it comes. If it goes, it goes. If it comes, it comes. If it goes, it goes. And so specifically, like for my business women out there and for my women who are, trying to find their partners, it's like we need to constantly be cultivating this attitude. Constantly put ourselves out there. Like follow those intuitions. You met this guy and he was really exciting and he was really interesting. Put yourself out there And if it comes, it comes. If it goes, it goes, right? If you want to work with someone, you want to invite a person to be your client, you want to make an offer of your program or your one-on-ones, do it. Follow those impulses to offer and speak your truth. And if it comes, it comes. If it goes, it goes. If they say yes, they say yes. Amazing. Celebrate. If they say no, they say no. You let it go. And you move on. Now, it's easier said than done, I know. But all of this stuff, if you practice it, if you do it, it brings up the triggers. It brings up the pains. It brings up the hurts that are living inside of us. And I know that because I have so much pain inside of me. Yeah, things trigger me all the time. And I know that those triggers are a constant invitation to look at what needs to be healed, what gunk is sitting in my system that keeps me from being a clear channel, that keeps me from being a sacred conduit for universal force, for the divine's work to be done here on the planet. What blockages am I holding that cause me to distort goodness and turn it into greed? And when I practice, when it comes, it comes. When it goes, it goes. And I get triggered, good. There's the work that needs to be done. Thank you for guiding me and showing me the compass of where I need to focus my energies, my love, my power, so that I can clear the way. And that I like to add in the sentence to this. If it's a no, something better is coming, right? If it's a yes, it's a yes, great. If it's a no, great. Something better is coming. And that puts us back into this trust. And it puts us back into being a magnet for the lover that we're looking for, being a magnet for the money that we want, for the clients that we want to receive. It puts us back into being a magnet for that, rather than being a being that's going out there and trying to get it, right? Like, how horrible is the amount of marketing and advertisements that we receive on a daily basis of people trying to catch us and grab us in? And how distorting is it for our minds? Like the poor innocent people that are just scrolling, that just receive a bombardment, or that are just driving in their car and just receive a bombardment. It's like we need to retrain from the inside not to be the kind of people who go out there and try to grab and pull. We need to be the kind of people that create greatness from within, that create ease and trust and joy from within. And when we're doing that and we're creating our own art, whether that art is the way you speak or the way you write or the way you paint or the way you play music or the way you rearrange your room, whatever your art is, it's when we're centered and we're creating a field of truth inside our being, and we're doing our own art. We magnetize those who are ready to receive our medicine, or we magnetize those that are exactly looking for us. And when you want something, when you really want something, there is someone else out there that's wanting the same thing but on the opposite. When you really want something, the counter is there in the universe. It's a polarized world. There cannot be a desire without a fulfillment. There cannot be a truth without a complementary truth. So when you really want something, when you want that to find your partner, to make a baby with, you want to find, your dream soulmate clients, know that they are out there too, because we live in a polarized world. And yes, it is your job to say, hey, I'm here, come find me, by following your impulses to put yourself out there, by following your impulses to share your videos, share your messages, share your art, or whatever it is. But also when we can share, but we share from a grounded place of being in deep trust that everything that we need will be there when we need it. That if a yes, it's a yes. If it's a no, if it's a no. Amazing. Okay. I want to just close with the takeaway of what I receive from this passage this time. So I read these yoga books over and over again, the Yoga Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita especially, and every time I read them, and this is how you know that it's a mystical text, this is how you know that something was channeled from the divine, is if every time you read it, you receive another layer. Okay, it's not like necessarily means, but that's like the signature stamp of a mystical text, is that you receive more and more. So the last time I read this, which was a few days ago, I received the take home that we are all in this together, and that wealth for me is wealth for everybody. That it's so much more necessary for me to take care of my relationships, my family, my friends, my husband, my home, my plants, my garden, my relationships. It's like a homitakuyasana. It's not only, the people, it's also the animals, the plants. It's like, that's the most important thing, because we're in this together. So when I prioritize taking care of myself and my loved ones and my relationships, when I put my energy in cultivating really good and deep and clear and loving relationships, and I'm not saying that I'm a pro at that. Yeah, I'm learning all the time. But this is my takeaway, is that when I focus on that, I'm the wealthiest person. Because wealth, you guys, money, it only comes from other people. It's just from other people. Wealth and money is not a universal principle. Wealth and money comes from people. So if we cultivate our relationships with people, if we have open, honest, loving relationships with our people and all of our relations, a homitakoyasan, then wealth comes to us, opportunities arise, people talk and they share. Energy moves between people and spreads out like a web. So wealth happens in relation. Wealth happens in community. Wealth happens when we're centered in our own deep trust that all is well. Wealth happens when we're not attached or grabbing for things in order to make us feel the way we want to feel. Wealth happens that when we know we can feel however we want to feel. That we have the power to do that. And that's centered within. And wealth happens when you're calm and relaxed and doing your art. So go out there and do your art, you guys. I love you so much. And I love yoga so much, and the yoga principles. And the yoga principles have really guided me to be a teacher and a speaker and a sharer of knowledge, and has also really helped pave the way for me to becoming a business owner and becoming a business coach, a sacred business coach, a spiritual mentor for women and women in business. And I really find that the yoga principles, or any kind of the Tao principles as well, serve as a great base from which to set off on your entrepreneurial journey, or your journey into really living the life you want to live. Because being an entrepreneur is the most spiritual path, because you have to have something to fall back on. You have to have something to fall back on. When shit hits the fan, when things don't go the way you thought they would, when things don't go according to plan, you have to have something to fall back on. And the yoga principles, the yoga philosophy leads us there. Back to our center, back to our soul, back to the beauty and the magnificence of who we are and what we are. So, I love you so much. I have a yoga class coming up on Wednesday in Pardesh-Khana. If you tune into these and you'd like me to do them online, then I'm more than happy to do that, if people want. And I have a yoga teacher training coming up starting in the end of February, and there's some spots left. So if you're interested in that, please be in touch or spread the word. and sending you so much love and so many blessings. Namaste.